In this section, we will discuss understanding groups, and the learning objectives include describing the types of groups, identifying and describing group dynamics, and also discussing the stages of group development. Now, as far as defining groups, groups are a very complex process, and all groups are unique, but they have certain common qualities. They consist of a small number of people, they have a common goal, and there are many types of groups. You've been in all of these, the three major types that are listed here. A primary group. If you're in a family, you're in a primary group. Friends would be a primary group. That's a group that functions as a support system for its members, helps to fulfill people's basic needs. A discussion group is there to talk about an issue but not actually reach a decision. So that would be a discussion group where you're trying to exchange information which is based ideally on research and opinions about a topic, and decision-making groups, as you know, would be common in business and in government. Now, as far as challenges of working in groups, I'm sure if you've worked in any group, you understand the challenge of working in a group. And there are many advantages and disadvantages to working in groups. If you look here, you can see that the groups tend to make better decisions. That would be the best advantage. That's why they're so common in business, so common in government. When you get a group of people working together, you have a dynamic that occurs. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. That interaction effect that occurs between group members can produce a greater outcome. But there obviously are disadvantages too. They take more time, they take energy, resources, they can result in conflict. So there's a lot of disadvantages regarding groups. And there are times when you should not engage in a group, and some of those are listed on this slide. So you can see groups are not always the best approach when you're dealing with an issue. Now, as far as further challenges, group size is important. So if you're in a decision-making group or a problem-solving group, 5 to 7 people would be ideal. You want to keep in mind some of these points that are made on this slide and that are also reinforced in the chapters that you've read concerning groups. Now, as far as group dynamics go, one critical thing to understand is what is the distinction between a norm and a rule. A rule is a stated guideline. So for example, for a class like this, it'd be the syllabus provides stated guidelines about how the class should be conducted. A norm would be based on behavior. So if you're taking a class on a campus and the professor shows up 10 minutes late every day, the normative start time for that class would be 10 minutes after the rule start time. So if you had a class that's supposed to start at 8:30, but nobody really gets there till 8:40, then the norm would be 8:40, even though the rule would state that the start time is 8:30. So as you can see, norms are also unique to each group. So just think of it this way. Every friend that you have, you behave a little differently with each friend. You develop unique interactions that occur between the two people. Just like in a group, it'll have unique norms based on the communication that occurs within that group. Now, as far as norms go, here are some examples of norms so you can better understand what a norm is. And another dynamic that's important is cohesion. So cohesiveness will develop within a group, so that would be based on mutual attraction. And characteristics of a cohesive group would include having a common goal, developing common culture, and there are many ways that you can help enhance cohesiveness. Some of those are listed here, and we'll be talking about some of those ideas in just a second. Now, as far as group development goes, what people that study groups have found is that groups tend to go through the same processes. And Aubrey Fisher came up with 4 common stages of group development. You have orientation, conflict, emergence, reinforcement. So we'll talk in just a second more about what is involved in concerning primary and secondary tensions, which occur in the orientation conflict stages. Now, emergence occurs when the group feels more cohesiveness, and then reinforcement occurs when the group has helped to satisfy its task and maintenance functions, which we'll get to in a minute. And then you have a group that's more it's a more cohesive group, ongoing group. That would be the reinforcement stage. Now, as far as primary tensions go, those are common at the outset of a group. So just think of almost any group that you've been in. If you were put into a group or joined a new work group when you got a new job, for example, you're going to have these primary tensions that are normal within a group. So if you're feeling tension when you first start a group, that would be normal. And then some of the characteristics are listed on this slide. So make sure and take a look at those so you can have an understanding of what the characteristics of primary tension are. And again, this is normal and it's expected within a group. Now, secondary tensions are going to develop further, and those are listed here. So secondary tensions are also common, and they can result in difficulties. So if you understand that the secondary tensions are a normal part of being in a group, that can help you better communicate within a group situation. Now, another example of the development process is provided by Tuckman. So he came up with 4 stages too, and he calls his stages forming, storming, norming, performing. And as you can see, those are pretty much consistent with the previous stages. So his 4 stages are important to know as far as the order goes. So make sure to remember it's forming, storming, norming, performing, and then read the characteristics of each stage. So make sure and take a look at the slides concerning those stages. Now, as far as group dynamics goes, the things to understand here: the roles, the rules, the norms, the status, the power, cohesiveness. So we've talked about some of those, and those are all covered well in your textbook. Types of roles, though, are important to know. There are 2 broad types that are critical within any group. You have task roles, and you also have social or maintenance roles. Now, there are also self-centered roles. Those are considered dysfunctional within a group. Now, as far as those go, task roles deal with solving the problem, dealing with why the group is there. And every group member should engage in all of the task roles appropriately that are listed on this slide, and also the roles that are listed in your textbook. So you're going to see these are consistent with your textbook. Task roles are to get the job done. So every member should ideally engage in all of these roles. You don't just have to be the leader to engage in these. Every single person within the group should engage in all of them when it's appropriate. And that would be the sign of a functional, well-working group. Okay, and let me show you some additional task roles. And again, just refer to your textbook and take a look at those and make sure that you understand all of the task roles and know what they refer to. They're important to know. Now, there's also the maintenance or social roles. Either name is okay. And what these deal with is the satisfaction of group members. So group members need to fill a part of the group. And if you engage in the social roles that are listed here and that are covered in your book, those roles will help members to feel more cohesiveness within the group. They'll feel like they belong to the group. So again, everybody should engage in all of these roles. So take a close look at those. These are not reserved for just one person within the group. Everybody should engage in all of these social roles and the task or the social and maintenance roles that are listed on this slide too. So again, that's important to know, that for a functional group, it's the responsibility of all group members to appropriately engage in all of the roles. Everybody should be doing that. So for example, the gatekeeper is a person who helps keep the flow of communication going, invites people to participate. Don't have that just reserved for the leader within the group. That should be something that, as an effective group member, you should engage in all of these. And then if everybody does, you'll tend to have a much better response for the group as a whole. Now, there's also the self-serving roles. So these are considered negative roles. Obviously, they're promoting the individual as opposed to the group. So people will have different motives for engaging as an aggressor, a blocker, a dominator, a recognition seeker. Ideally, you don't want to do these things. That's just going to maybe satisfy some need you have as an individual, but it's dysfunctional for the group. Just as being a clown, deserter, confessor, those are not going to help the group meet its objectives. So make sure and look at these slides carefully, and you'll see they correspond with what you've read in the textbook. And just think of examples of where you can apply these to your group experiences, because all of this information is just based on what normally happens within a group.